This is the Messed Up to Setups podcast. I'm comedian Michael Halcomb, and today I have with me comedian Chrysalis Goring, and we're going to talk about Improvsburg, life in Indiana, and do some jokes as well. So hang around, you're going to enjoy it. But it's just not set up. All right, I'm comedian Michael Halcomb, and this is the Messed Up to Setups podcast. And today I have with me Chrysalis Goring, such a cool name. Chrysalis, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes. And for either the uneducated watch, which might be a large segment of this show, I don't know, or those of us who might have forgotten, remind us, please, what Chrysalis is. Where does the name word come from?
So it's the like cocoon kind of. I think technically it is like the pupa, which is sort of the butt of the butterfly, but it has a nice word for it. So I like my name, but it just kind of means like butterfly, butt, cocoon. So yeah, just don't look it up. Just Chrysalis. It just kind of sounds nice. Or
Nice.
Chris.
Yeah, little old butterfly butt. Right on. So, Chrysalis, it's good to meet you and good to have you on the show. And let's just start by telling us where you are.
I am in Farmersburg, Indiana, which is exactly how it sounds. It's a very fitting name. So yeah, I am in Farmersburg, Indiana, but I am in the church. We're turning into a theater that my mom and I have been working on. So that's pretty cool. We have like space and we can just kind of paint a corner to be a set like this, which is awesome. Pros and cons to having a building in construction. Plumbing, not so much, but also you can just paint whatever you want on the walls. So
so did mom like drag you into this? Were you like, I want to be part of this? Like, how did it work out?
I would say both. Some of each. My mom's always been in the theater world, and so I've always sort of been next to it. But I did make my own choices. Definitely was raised to be very independent, but was like, I love this. This is great. And have explored a lot of parts of theater and film, and that's always kind of been my passion. Writing and improv and stuff is kind of the back end is more what I like. I guess performing comedy is like the only thing I can really perform. But yeah, so I've always enjoyed all of that, and I was like, I want to, have a theater. I'm gonna find some property. We're gonna turn it into a theater. And I was like, hell yeah! I mean, that's great for me. I'll enjoy that, so I'm willing to help out and do all that. So yeah, pretty sick.
Right on. So have you like done improv? Like, do you like done that on stage, worked with a troupe, studied it? Like, what's the extent of your improv?
So for improv, I've done, I feel like in school and stuff, I've done improv, but I worked with the Dueling Dames, which my mom also did, and so that's stage combat and fight choreography. I don't know if she mentioned it at all, but I love doing that, and so the stage combat is very scripted, but a lot of the like comedy and stuff is not, and also if you're performing for kids or adults, but also a lot of the time for young kids, there's a lot of improv that goes into that. So I've done a lot of that just in shows of improv being kind of a part of it, and crowd work and stuff. And then I did do some improv with some people and got the like Spirit of Improv Award at the Utah Shakespeare Festival when I was younger. That was really fun because I got to share with other people. So yeah, a variety of things, but I've always just enjoyed doing it.
So, and then you also do stand up, and you mentioned crowd work. So I want to circle back to crowd work in a minute, but
Okay.
how did the entry into stand up happen?
Well, my mom is clearly a very comedian person. I think we're both just we communicate with humor and we get each other's humor, even if no one else does. And then that's also a way that I've been social. I've moved around and traveled for a lot of my life. So being in different schools and places and jobs, I'm like, well, jokes, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, I think I would just like to do stand up, like kind of scary, but also I've done comedy as a part of a lot of shows that I've done, of extra work, of doing stage combat and all that. So I'm like, I could just stand up and do that, maybe. So that's starting to get into that. But yeah.
So how long have you been doing stand up?
Not super long. I've been doing it on and off for a couple of months. And then I had done like a thing or two before that in like the past year or so. But I'm kind of starting to get more into it now, doing it more consistently.
So it's like it seems like the improv side of it, and you mentioned the crowd work side would come pretty easily or naturally because you've got an extensive background in that. What about the joke writing side? Do you find that fulfilling, challenging? Yeah.
I do. I think it's also sometimes hard to balance the two things because I love
Mm,
being in the moment, doing crowd work and
right.
improv is its own fun challenge. But then I'll like spend all the time on my own writing down stuff that's kind of more sketchy or like writing sketches, things like that. So I think balancing like writing a joke, but then also not being married to it and being like it can change in the moment, you can make it
Right.
better, think of new things. Having the balance of both is sometimes a challenge for my brain, but that's the ideal.
So I mean, it's interesting because you're coming at it. I don't want to say backwards or like I don't know what the right way to describe this would be, but I think for the majority of stand-up comedians, like it tends to work in this way: like the joke writing, and then the performing, and
Mm,
then the like improving or crowd work, like in that sequence, right?
okay, yeah.
Whereas, like, it sounds like for you is like the improving and the performing and then the joke writing. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's kind of what it sounds like. And because of that typical order, I think, like, for the majority of beginner or new comedians, or maybe comedians in general, crowd work is terrifying, right?
Yeah, I get that.
Because comedians like they want to write a joke typically, and it often doesn't have that flexibility that you're mentioning. Like it isn't like a living organism. It's like that the wording has to be like nailed down and has to be delivered this way. So to have that skill set is huge, I think.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I mean, yeah, I think sometimes I'm like, gosh, I really don't have the like strong rehearsed the wording is not down ever, but you kind of have to do crowd work and improvise when you've got like 5-year-olds hitting each other with
Right.
foam swords and you're like, hey, but what if I distracted you and you did this instead? And I don't know, keeping things light and fun. And also the same thing with like drunk 35-year-old men in the Ren Fair. You gotta roll with the punches.
Right.
So yeah, I think honestly maybe leaning into that more and having looser joke style probably works better for me. I'm still figuring it out, but that's yeah,
Yeah.
it's good
Right.
perspective.
Yeah, it takes a while. I mean, it takes a while to find your voice, your writing style, like your performing style, the stage persona, like all those moving parts, like, take a while to and they'll change too, like, right? So it's never I don't want to say never, but we go through seasons of life, and I feel like the joke writing should like follow that. Like the
Yeah.
performing should to a degree follow that, right? The
Hmm.
style, the voice, the persona should follow that. And I tend to think we all have a multitude of voices that we're operating out of all the time. There may be one like overarching persona, but I'm a father, I'm a teacher, like I'm a husband, I'm a neighbor, like I'm like all sorts of things,
Yeah.
and like those voices contribute to like who I am, so I don't know. I feel like that comes out in my joke writing and performing as well. And over time, I should expect that to change because those things will change.
Yeah. That's
I
so
don't
true.
know. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about crowd work because, like I said, that's like a terrifying thing for a lot of comedians. And what about crowd work intrigues you? Like, what is your? And I'm really curious. Like, what is your strategy for doing crowd work? I don't know.
Sometimes I feel like I'm like, that's cheating, but I'm like, that's brilliant because you can kind of put other people on the spot and be like, well, you're the one being funny. You're the one giving me the content and the material, and then you can just kind of editorialize. I think a lot of stand-up
Mm,
comedy, at least from my perspective and what I'm learning, I think is different from other things in that you don't necessarily need to have like a really clean pre-written jokes. I mean, you can, but it's like it's not sketch comedy, it's not pre-written bits. It's like it's commentary. It's having like a funny
mm,
point of view on a
right.
situation. So I think if you can just be good at talking to people and maybe mining as many situations as you can out of them, you can find something funny about it or you can put your perspective on it. So I think that's fun, not always easy, but I think
Right.
that's a really fun idea of being like, well, I could have a lot less written content and get a lot more content out of my audience.
Right. And so many comedians have like blown up because, well, one, social media, but two, the crowd work stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so with crowd work, because it is live in real time, you can post that material, or as you say, burn it, right? So you
Hmm.
post it and you don't have to, you're not going to use it again, like it's
Right.
done.
Yeah.
Whereas the written stuff, comedians tend to like save that, right? And
Yeah.
use it show after show.
Right.
Yeah. So I find that interesting. 'Cause I was talking to somebody a while back and they were saying, it was another comedian, I believe, how like public speaking is like often the number one fear, right, for people. And then like they were saying like how stand-up comedy is like an extension of that and even more scary than just regular public speaking. But then,
Yeah.
like, crowd work is an extension of the stand up comedy, which would imply that crowd work is like literally the scariest form of public speaking
I
that
think that's right.
exists.
Yeah.
And so for you to like lean into that, yeah, I think that's pretty cool, especially so early on and like have the confidence to do it. Yeah, most comedians I think that are starting are not going to have the. And in fact, I've been with a few teachers, comedy teachers, and they totally are against new comedians doing it, right?
Mhm.
So they'll like warn against because they're not good at it. But I think the improv
Mhm.
set like comes in handy there.
Yeah, it definitely does. I
So
mean, that's
what
a fair point. Not saying I'm great at it, but I think that's probably an avenue to successful comedy.
Well, like the confidence, though. I mean, I haven't seen you do it, so I can't judge how good or not you are. But to have the confidence to do it is just huge
Mhm.
because when you have a mentor telling you don't do it, or like forbidding you from doing it, or dissuading you from doing it, like you don't have much confidence to do it, right? So I think if you can come into stand-up comedy with that skill set and comfortability, that's huge. It's huge. It seems to me, I am talking a lot, but it seems to me like there's kind of a shift happening in stand-up comedy where this is becoming like an expectation, you know.
Yeah, I would agree.
And yeah, the comedians, like people show up to comedy shows now expecting to go back and forth with the comedian.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're not capable of that or willing to do that, I think you're not going to gain fans.
Mm,
You know, you might lose bookings, but you got to almost be able to hold the improv like over a set and be able to weave in and out of your set jokes.
yeah,
Like, whereas it used to be you just come with a set and you do the set.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. Are you seeing that? Am I like, am I crazy or,
No,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think a lot of learning is like observation, which is what I'm doing. I think definitely, I think there's just a lot less opportunity for fun things. I mean, it depends also if you're like a great comedian and you've got a great set, that is wonderful. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for like new jokes and like fun things if you're doing some crowd work at least. And I think also, I mean, a fear that I definitely have is, God, this person might just not want to be interacted with at all and are not showing up to engage and just want to like hear a joke, sit back,
right,
relax, that's it. But I think also from like seeing audiences like on social media and also just like live and watching other improv shows and stuff that I've been to, people want to talk about themselves. There's always someone who's a theater kid. There is someone who has a story that they really want to share. And
right,
I'm sure in any audience you can find a couple of people if you're like, does anyone want to talk about a time that
right.
they had an interesting trip to the bathroom? There's going to be three people who will raise their hands. And I don't know. I think people, when they're excited to talk about something, you can find something funny out of that. And you don't have to be doing all of the work. I think crowd work can, if you got confidence and you're, not too stressed out about it, it doesn't need to be too scary. It can be, but it doesn't need to be.
I think that improv, I've taken one improv class. I took it last fall, but it
Congratulations.
really what it does is, at least what it helped me with, like it helps pull the fear out, like the fear element. So I found that beneficial. I also love what you said, people want to talk about themselves too. And I've noticed that when people come to a comedy show, some people tend to treat it like a therapy session. Like they
Mhm.
want to get that story out and hear you make a joke about it so they can laugh about that problem they had, right? That traumatic experience. And
Yeah.
they're looking for a way, like fishing, hunting for a way to be able to laugh at it.
Yeah.
And if you as a comedian can give that to them, oh, that's what a gift, you know.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are scared of that. Like, I personally will sometimes be like, oh, geez, like, sometimes either a comedian or an audience are like, oh, yikes. I don't want to be here while you're talking about this. But I think then, yeah, it's a good strategy to just accept that that's part of what people go to comedy for, and part of all the funny stories that people are going to have. Sometimes going to be traumatic or going to be complicated things that people want to talk about. So if you're ready for that and willing for people to have that and be like, I'm going to make it funny and you're going to laugh and you're going to feel great, and that's going to be a gift, like you said, I think that's better than just being scared and uncomfortable about it. So hard, but I think that's a great opportunity as well.
Right. Excellent. So let's talk a little bit too about when your mother, I interviewed her as well. By the way, for those of you listening or watching, we keep referencing her mother. That's Hayden. Yes, she was on an earlier episode, so go check that out. But together, they are working on Farmersburg Theater. And if you didn't catch the previous episode with Hayden, yes, what the story here is, I'm going to let Chrysalis tell some more of this. They've gone to this small town and found a dilapidated church, and they've turned it into, well, they're currently converting it into a theater. And as I understand it, there's some mixed emotions about that throughout the town. So yeah, for like, let's talk about this. Go wherever you want with that. Yeah.
Okay, there are so many places to go. I mean, it's dilapidated is it's a sad but it is, yeah. I mean, when we first took a tour of it, the realtor was like, it was built in the 90s, and we were like, really? It turned out to be built in
Mm.
the 1890s. They didn't specify.
That's great.
Anyways, yeah, it's a piece of history. It's a cornerstone. But yeah, I love the building. It is truly like, the bones are great. The bones are the way people built things in the 1890s is,
Mm.
wooden floors, long basements with lots of places for raccoons to live. But yeah, all the stuff that people did add onto it in the past 100 years is a lot to kind of strip away. So
Mm.
it's a lot of work, but it's so much fun. It's a really wonderful space. But yeah, agreed. The town does not necessarily feel that way. It is southeastern Indiana,
Right.
and I feel like that sums up a lot about it. It's a town that needs a hairstylist and would definitely benefit from a theater, but I don't think a lot of people necessarily see it that way. I think it's
Mm.
more, well, but this could be a cornfield. And also, before we owned this place, it like people just kind of drove through the lawn, or like kick a soccer ball around, or like teens would kind of just break in. So I think it was sort of serving a different community purpose. So some people are a little salty that they can't drive through the the property anymore. But
Serving a different community purpose, like being a squatter house, or like, yeah, like teens breaking in, like teens getting their first arrest, or
yeah, a lot
yeah.
of firsts, milestones for people. Yeah, so, but we're not trying to take that away. We're just trying to create new memories, new and different memories. So,
So
but
what have you been doing? You've been helping with the construction as well. Like, what's your role been so far?
yeah, I mean, it's a balance of trying to get some creative stuff up and off the ground and to still be making things, because we don't have the space is not where it's at to be producing plays yet. That's our goal. That hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to have a performing space and we can start doing workshops and shows and everything here. So part of it is like still doing what creative stuff we can do and putting stuff online. Doing improv is a big part of that. And then also just getting wood out of the ceiling, getting
Mm.
insulation out of the walls, and then putting up new insulation that is not 100 years old. So yeah, it's been construction and creative things. I'd say the two biggest things that I've been doing.
Is this a full-time job for you? Like, do you do this on the weekends? Like, what's that look like?
During the summer, it is pretty much a full-time job. I'm taking two summer classes, so I'm doing those online. Other than that, most of the work is here, and then also it's I go to college the rest of the year. I've got my final year this fall, so trying to take advantage of as much time as I have during the summer, honestly, and doing kind of less gig work to try and focus on construction, just building this up, because it's our gonna be a legacy. We're hoping this sticks around for a really long time. So yeah.
So after you finish college in a year, the plan to, really just double down and focus on this?
It will be twofold. I will definitely be doing a lot of work here, and then I think more, I mean, obviously I'll be doing that during the school year, but more applications for like internships and work and stuff, and maybe doing some remote work, but hopefully eventually going to get into like a writer's room or do more professional like writing for film and television is the goal. But I believe I can do both things at once, and I've balanced a certain amount of school and like doing this. So, I mean, this is going to be my home base. So,
Yeah.
like, I'll have it to come back to, and I'll always be doing work of some kind on it. So, yeah.
Well, interesting. Do you have any stand-up gigs coming up? Do you have anything plotted out for the future? I know you said you're mainly working on this during the summer, but anything out there? Are you trying to perform a lot? What's that look like?
I think either next week or the week after is going to go to Indianapolis for a comedy night. I'm doing more like open mics and stuff. There's not a ton of those near here, so mostly I have to travel to Indy for that. There will be once we have a
Right,
building, we do open
right.
mics here. But yeah, so right now, yeah, gonna do that and still finding places, lining up more open mics and stuff like that. Recently did one in that was no, that was in Annapolis too. It was like a bit on the outskirts, but yeah, all indie.
Right on. Awesome. Well, man, thanks, Chrysalis, for coming on. This, by the way, is part one of two parts. And in part two, she's gonna bring a joke. We're gonna workshop it and discuss it and make up some jokes on the spot as well. So be sure to make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and the blog and all that, so you know when that episode drops. And follow us on all the socials. But go over to farmersburgtheater.org, check that out. You can do the GoFundMe if you want to give to the rehab project that they're doing on their building. And yeah, Chrysalis, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you watching or listening, thanks. And we're going to stop there and say we hope that helps.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.